was pretty excited. We're going to go to the groundbreaking ceremony, and that's next week. It's supposed to be really short, right? I know people are hungry after church, and so we're going to just take about 10 minutes. It won't take long. It'll probably take longer to get there. If you don't know where it is, let us know. Just follow the group, or maybe we'll put a little map on the bulletin and we'll do something. But if you go down Shiloh towards the, what is that called? The Louvre, you'll see a Burger King. Pretty sure there's a Burger King there. But anyway, right behind the Burger King, that's where we are. So if you don't know, just follow us. Is that correct? Right? You just dive in. What is that? Backwoods Trails. What it is.
Turn left at the Burger King.
Right, left if you're going from this side, or turn right if you're coming from the Loop. So be there. Let's get the word out, and I think it's pretty exciting. So, all right. This morning I wanted to start with, and this, you can hear me, right? I wanted to start with this story about this farmer who was really annoyed by some birds on the outside his house, and after so many days he thought they'll go away. They didn't go away. He finally got so fed up that he got a shotgun and went out there and took care of a few of them. And there's quite a mess on the ground. And as he's looking around picking up the mess that he left, he saw his parrot there as well with a broken wing. And as he picked up his own pet and it's in there flapping his wing and still alive but really hurt, his kids came out. And his kids are asking him, so what happened with the parrot? What happened with our pet? And all he could come up with was, he kept bad company. It's just one of those moments where you don't know what to say because something bad has happened like that. I made a mistake. This morning we're great company. I just want to know. So what I'm going to do this morning is talk about what we do when we have a major problem in front of us, something really big. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to be in Joshua chapter 5, and I'm also going to be jumping back and forth with 1 Kings 17. So if you want to put your finger on 1 Kings 17, and then on this one too, we're going to be coming back and forth. So I'm going to start the story. I'm going to bring us up to speed. Remember, Moses goes to Egypt, gets the people, brings them out of Egypt, and they've been 40 years in the wilderness. And then God's been taking care of them, bringing manna from heaven so they can eat, water as well from a rock, and He's been providing all kinds of ways for these people. But they have to wander the desert for 40 years. Finally they come and they're going to get into the promised land, and there they are. The gateway into the promised land is the city of Jericho. And so that's where the story picks up. This is while the sons of Israel camp at Gilgal, they observed the Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the month of the desert plains of Jericho. And the text goes on to say, and on that day, after the Passover, on that very day, they ate some of the produce of the land, unleavened cakes and parched grain. So very quickly, as they get into the promised land, they start eating of that promise that God had given to them, that land flowing with milk and honey. And so it's a great day for them. But yet, right there, we're told something that God's going to really do something for them. Although they're walking into the promised land, God's really, and I put for point number one, God moves us into His promises. But really, a good word for that is that sometimes God drags us into His promises. Like sometimes we don't want to. Like God will put some blocks for us in our past so we can just move forward. And this is what He did. This is what the Bible tells us right here. And the manna ceased on that day. Joshua's really specific. That stuff that took care of every single day, that blessing that God was providing and taking care of them, made sure they were fed. And as soon as they get to the promised land, it all stops. You ever been there? When even for a generation, God was providing a certain way for you. And all of a sudden, those blessings stop and you're going, hey Lord, what's going on? What happened? I'm not getting what I used to get. That's exactly what happened. It's not that they were being punished. It's not that something bad happened. It's not that God wanted something bad for them. Here's what it did. It kept them from going back. It kept them from going back. And so, real specific, I highlighted there, so that the sons of Israel no longer had manna. It makes that point. Again. But they ate the yield of the land of Canaan during that year. All right, and so, as soon as they get there, it tells us right here, so now Jericho was tightly shut. By the way, some have the gates were shut because the walls don't move, right? That's what is implied here. And so because they're there and they're camped outside. The people knew what this was, right? They're coming over to take the city, and so nobody's going in and out. But the first thing they see, by the way, and we think sometimes walls like this, but these were 30-foot walls. And the base of those walls were this ramparts where you had to go up to the city. And so it was for their own protection. And by the way, it just wasn't one wall. It was a wall here, and then you can go as far, really far, and several feet, because let me tell you how big this was. People lived in those walls. And it was good for the city, because if you had an invading army and that's your home, what are you going to do? You're going to defend it. It was a great plan. But this was huge. And so when these guys, they come up and God cuts off those blessings, they great, He cuts off the blessings. And they move forward and go, oh, there's a wall there. Because as soon as those blessings are cut, and doesn't that life feel that way sometimes? That God cuts something off, and then we think, we're ready to move. God wants this for me. And they go, oh, wait, there's a wall there. And that's exactly what happened to them. That there was a wall. And so that happens in our lives sometimes. We don't understand. We're talking, well, God, why would God cut this? Move me here. I get here. And then it's really, really tough. Have you ever been in a situation like that? When you feel like, man, this is the job that God probably wanted me to have. And you walk in there, and it's really difficult. You have to learn so much. Your life is flipped upside down, right? Maybe a relationship change. Maybe you're somewhere else where you've never been. And you're going, why am I here? I don't get it. I don't speak the language. I don't really understand the people. I don't understand the culture. Life is just so different here. And that's exactly what was happening with them. They immediately saw a wall. So what's our impossible task today? Sometimes it's a project, something we took on. It seemed pretty easy. And we take it on and get there and go, oh, wait a second, a lot more time it's going to take to do this. I shouldn't have taken this on. It just seemed like God wanted this for me. Right? I don't know what we're going to do. We get there. What are we going to do now? And so I said I was going to jump back and forth from our passage here to 1 Kings 17, because this is a story of the prophet Elijah. You see something very similar here. The same pattern. It says, and it happened after a while, that while the brook dried up. Notice how he had been there. God's been providing for him. And all of a sudden, the brook dries up. It just dried up. Because there was no rain in the land. And God's been taking care of him. And so God quickly says, get up. And then the word of the Lord came to him saying, arise, go to Zarephath. By the way, he's going to go to a place where the Gentiles live. No Jewish people. It's going to be completely different for him. Yeah, I got to get up and do what? And he gets up. And he has to move. And by the way, if the brook dries up, he can no longer stay there. Sometimes God's going to do that for us. He's going to dry up something. Some blessings are going to stop coming. And we're thinking, this is confusing. Why would he take this away? Because it is time for us to move forward. Now we can sit there and not move, but nothing's coming. There's no water flowing. There's no manna coming. God just says, you know what? You're moving. This is it. It's time to move forward. All right, it's time to move forward. By the way, there was this story about, speaking of walls, there's this story about this preacher who he never taught the youth, but something happened to the youth worker that day, and he decided, you know what, somebody else teach the adults, I'll go teach the youth. And he goes in there, and he's teaching the kids, and it's this story about Jericho, the walls of Jericho. And he goes, okay, so I want to know, before I start the lesson, who knocked down the walls of Jericho? And real quickly, some of the boys, they kind of talk to each other, and they raise their hand, and they're going, sir, we didn't do it. And he's so disappointed that they didn't even understand, they didn't even heard of the lesson. Their minds are somewhere else. At the next deacon's meeting, he gets up and he explains to them, guess what? I was teaching about this, and he goes, my question was to these boys, who knocked down the walls of Jericho? And they just told me they didn't do it. And there was just silence in the meeting because the preacher's really upset. And one of the deacons says, wait a second, preacher, I've known this voice for a long time. If they say they didn't do it, they didn't do it. And we have money in the treasury, we could just pay those walls. Sometimes preachers, you also run into walls like that. So, but really, that's the point here, right? That in the story, God is a hero. God's going to knock down the walls. God will provide, right? That's the story. By the way, when you leave here today, somebody asks you about the walls of Jericho, you better get that one right. You better say, God did it. All right. Make us all proud. And so God, number two, God gives us vision. And by vision, I mean this. He'll tell us what to look at. He says real quickly to Joshua, and the Lord said to Joshua, I know I dried up all this stuff, and it's time to move on. And he says, see, I have given, real quickly. Now I'm going to stop there, and I'll come back to this in just a bit here. But he says, see, I. You notice that? See, I've already done this. See what I do? God's never out of the picture. God says, I know. Here we go, Josh. Josh, don't look at the wall. Look at me. Don't look at the problem. Look at me. Yes, I know that is there. It looks pretty big and it looks intimidating. I need you to look at me. I've already done this for you. We have so many promises from God. We read earlier. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Right, Sean? He was reading that up here. Those are the promises from God. God says, just come on in. I have all of this for you. I've already done it. It's a done deal. Then in 1 Kings 17, verse 8 9 says, it reads this. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, arise, go, as I read earlier, to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and stay there. Behold, I commanded a widow there to provide for you. I've already, again, notice how God says, don't look at the problem. I know that right now, but look at me. I've already done this. Do you see the pattern there? Look at me. Don't look at that stuff. Don't stay. So what happens when something bad happens in our life and there's a big issue, there's a big problem? What do? Most of the time, we just look at it. Man, can you believe it? I'm going through this. Can you believe it? This is my obstacle. And all we want to talk about is this big old wall that's in front of us. And God says, no. Don't look at that. Look at me. I know that it looks impossible, but I need you to look at me. I've already done some things for you. I've already done it. But it's about vision. I remember when I was a kid, my family taught me how to ride the bike. They finally took off the training wheels, and I was just so excited. But I had a little issue. I could balance it out. It took no time for me to balance out the bike, because they thought that's going to be the biggest issue. My older brothers, I have older brothers. So they all had lessons for me. Like, make sure to use a front tire, balance yourself. I got it really quickly, but I would hit things. Oh yeah. If there's a trash can in front of me, more than likely I was going to hit it. If there's a curb, I was going to go hit it and fall. And it just happened. It didn't happen like once in a while. It happened every time I got on the bike. They were so frustrated with me because they were taking pride in, we taught him how to ride the bike, but then when they're out there bragging about me, like, boom, right? And so they couldn't brag. And so they're trying to figure it out. So finally one of our brothers, I could hear him talking to the adults behind me, and he's running next to me to see what I'm doing. And he goes, hey, you know what he's doing? He's focused on the front tire. And he was right. I was so worried about balancing with the front tire, I didn't look at anything. And so there's a parked car, guess what? I hit the parked car. This is about focus, and this is what God was trying to do. Don't look at that tire. Don't look at the wall. Don't look at the dried up roof. Don't stare at that. He'd say, I have done this. Look at me. Look at me. Look what I've done. And number 3, God prepares us for the task. He prepares us. Remember, in the story, they're going to march around the city, right? And so I can only imagine the conversation, right? So these people, all they've done for a generation before one died. And you know what they were doing? Walking around the desert. Walking around the desert. And they finally get to the place. And Joshua's probably giving the speech, and it probably sounded something like this. Ready, guys? I have a plan. And they'll go, oh man, I hope it's good. So what is it? We're going to do something different? He goes, here's what you're going to do. You're going to walk. Like, what? We did that for 40 years. Yeah. You're going to walk today. Well, for how long? 6 days. All right, great. So what do we do the 7th day? You're going to walk some more. All right, can you imagine the conversation going, but we've done this. We've done it already. But God was preparing them for that task. Remember, they don't just walk around in the desert for the sake of just walking around. They had to focus on the stuff, on their lesson, on something that we're supposed to learn, that God was faithful and God provided, and it was about their faith. Not just walking, not just aimlessly walking. God was teaching them lessons about trusting Him, loving Him, and having faith in Him. And now this new generation is ready to do it. And so you know what they're going to do? They're going to walk around And so they came about on the seventh day. They arose early at the dawn of the day and marched around. The word for march really just means to encircle, to go around in the Hebrew. But that's the idea. They're going to walk around here, the city, in the same manner, 7 times. Only on that day, march around the city 7 times. Where they're going to shout and everything. And so the walls fall and everything comes to completion. But this is the beautiful thing, right? That they have to get out there and now take a look at the problem. That's what they're doing. They take a look at the problem. They're going to walk around, right? Because when you're walking around, you're not thinking, I wonder what's going on, right? I wonder what we're supposed to look at. The wall. Look at the wall. Take a good look at the wall. It is a problem. Now, you're not going to get focused on that, but you need to look at what I'm going to do. That's what God's doing. Now, in 1 Kings 17, remember this? And it shall be that you shall drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to provide for you. Remember that? Remember that? Before he even goes to the widow, he says, I already commanded a widow to go over here. Before that, God told Elijah, right, I've commanded some ravens. So surely, if God commanded some ravens, he could command a widow. He could do that easily. He prepared the prophet the same way he prepared the people to walk around that city. And so they were supposed to take a good look at it and just be amazed. Be amazed. Not focus on the problem and go, oh, it's a problem. I don't know what I'm going to do. Not like that. It's like, God's like, take a good look. Walk around as much as you want to. Take a good look at it because you're going to see my great presence and my great deliverance. The only thing that we should acknowledge about our problems is that God's going to show up and take care of them. The bigger, the harder they're going to fall, right? We hear that all the time. With God, that's the way. That's the way. He says, take a good look at it. Don't be worried. Don't be afraid. Don't be any of that. Take a good look at it because I want the glory. I want the honor. You're going to say, thank you, Lord, for moving me into that direction and taking care of that. You know, when I was growing up, I learned some hard lessons, about having older brothers. They taught me a lot of stuff, right? I just told you about riding a bicycle. Also, they taught me how to box. And I never signed up for the lessons. There were free lessons. And then sometimes I didn't even know I was in the lesson. I could be walking around and boom, it's like you should have seen that coming. Right? And so you learn a lot of that stuff. And you know what I noticed too? I remember one time I was taking care of the youth at one of the churches, and they had an activity, and I saw one girl take a good punch at a boy. From far away, I just saw the arm just pow, right? And the boy just kind of goes back. So I'm taking care of him. I'm going to get it. I got to go over there and see what happened. I go, why did you hit him? Did you hit him? She goes, yeah, I popped him. I said, I know, I saw that. Why did you do that? He was picking on me. And the boy's kind of going, yeah, I admitted it. Like, I was picking on her. Like, what? And you're okay with it? He goes, well, I did pick on her, right? And so he kind of admitted it. I kind of teased her. And so I kind of asked her a few questions like, well, where'd you learn how to do that? She goes, oh, I have older brothers. I'm like, I get that. I get that, right? It's kind of this training that we go through sometimes that no, we don't even want. And sometimes it is like that with God. There's like people over here who say, God's teaching, God's bringing us through this so we can learn a lesson. What do we say sometimes? I don't want the lesson. No, thank you. Keep it. Give me the easy stuff. But we must go through it sometimes. It'll make us better people, not better boxers. Almost said that. We don't want to be boxers. But we can be great servants of God and understand that He will take us through some stuff. And that sometimes He's going to dry up those blessings so we can go and take on the bigger challenges, those bigger walls. Because we think, well, I'm not ready for this. And He goes, yeah, you are. I walked you through so many things. And you're ready for that wall. In fact, remember, I have already taken care of the wall. I've already commanded the widow to take care of you. That's the way God works. That's the way God works. But it is tough. It is tough. This morning, I want to kind of wrap up the way I did last week, with these words that are up on the screen. And some of you already read them, so I'm going to take them off the screen so you can still look up here. Right? Some teachers do that. Like, look at me. Right? But here's the deal, church. If you're going to, today, when you leave this place and you go out there and you come up against those walls, and church, we're about to go through some changes in this place. We're going to go to a new place, and new walls will be erected, and new challenges, and new people will come, and they will bring their stuff. Because we're out there reaching the people in their community. They have all that stuff that Jesus says, I will. Remember, it's not us. Are they going to be big challenges? You bet. Those walls are going to be huge. But God says, don't you worry. I've already done this. I've already won the battle. I've already committed people. I've already commanded people to do certain things for you. I've already commanded so many things to happen for this church. And it will happen. And the same thing happens for our lives. We have some big issues. Some of us are facing some big stuff. It's crushing us. But I tell you what, God's already commanded some things to happen for you in your life. We just need to get up and walk. We need to just give it up wherever we are. The blessings aren't out there anymore. It is time to move forward and move on with our lives. I know it takes a little time sometimes. Sometimes we sit there and we cry a little bit because God's going to move us. We already seen the vision. He's going to move us. But let me tell you something. Before my wife and I decided to even come here, we knew that we're going to go into the full-time ministry again. And we're going to leave some people behind and some things behind. And before we can even decide in church, we've already decided this is what we're going to do. We just sat there and cried on the couch. We cried. We cried because we knew it was in our hearts to go do this, but there were some people that we just didn't want to leave. And not only that, we had a small group, we had all kinds of stuff happening, but we knew it was time. He had put that in both of our hearts. It was difficult to deny it. And so he was drying that up for us, and we were ready for new challenges, and here we go. I love what I do, and I know there's great things are going to happen for us, and great people are going to come to this place and serve with us, alongside of us, and God is going to say things like, I told you so.
Amen.
I told you so. But today I want to leave you with this blessing. And by the way, right now we're going to get up to sing a song. Please go ahead and already stand as I continue singing here. I was talking, sorry, I'm not going to sing. But I want to leave you with this blessing. Before we sing the song, let me read this to you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance on you and give you peace. If you're here this morning and you need to give your life to Christ, you want to put him on in baptism, it is available to you this morning as we sing.